Hi everyone, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra. Had an interesting question in the Asp Unlimited app, and so I thought we would make a video about it. Out of Maryland, of probably the world's worst purse snatcher.
Yeah, not very accomplished in his craft at all.
You know, again,
couldn't make a very fast getaway.
No,
I think I could outrun this dude, and that is a very low bar.
Yeah, and again, not a smart criminal here. No. I don't fat shame people. I have been a fat guy for a long time. I'm not anymore, but I have been.
But I didn't indulge in crime that involved a quick foot getaway.
But I'm not going to commit crimes afoot either. But a bunch of guys stepped in. Good for them.
Yeah.
I had somebody ask in there, but okay, so John, this is an elderly woman who is having her purse stolen by a guy with a crowbar. And he did have a crowbar. They did take him into custody with that crowbar. You can just hear it clang onto the ground. And so, wait a minute, with all that in mind, if I use deadly force to stop him, would that have been justified? I think it's a good question. Let's talk about it. To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearms Legal Protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearms Legal Protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below. Here's the funny part. Here you go. You ready? It depends. Because you got to play lawyer here, right?
You're never going to hear that, right? Yeah, it just depends.
It depends.
By the way, the one thing that struck me as I watched this is like, this dude just attacked a meeting of the Gray Panthers. Because there's like 6 people in their 50s or 60s on this dude, like stink on ape. I mean, he picked the wrong crowd, man.
He picked the wrong crowd.
He picked an easy crowd. It wasn't. No, they were after him. But
not so good.
That flying front foot kick, I was like, you actually froze it in the video. That looks like Kung Fu Panda logo right there. Man. He
did look like Poe doing that too, but not in a good way.
Not in a good way.
Don't use the flying kick.
But he didn't land on his head, so at least there's that.
I've got 19 years of martial arts training now, and I would never use a flying kick. Never, right?
And I have zero
all
years,
those guys. Too much KFC and not enough UFC, okay?
KFC versus UFC. I have 0 years of training, and I know not to do it.
No, don't do that. But so when all those guys are surrounding him, and the 75-year-old lady is away from him, if you draw a gun and shoot that guy, you're going to be seen as probably unreasonable.
I would agree. I mean, again, what's it require in order to be able to lawfully use self-defense? The reasonable fear of the imminent loss of human life. Well, how imminent is it if he's dropped the crowbar? How imminent is it if there's 3 people between him and his intended target and he's 12 yards away? Probably not that imminent, right? I mean, it's always going to be great. As John said, it always depends. But the farther away from that guy he is from the target, the less wielding he is of that crowbar. If he's holding the crowbar down at his side, or if he's already dropped the crowbar or whatever. I mean, you have to be reasonably fear for the imminent loss of human life. And I think there's a pretty bright line somewhere in there where a reasonable person is going to go, yeah, I think it stopped right there. Or maybe somebody else might say, I think it stopped right there, but it clearly stopped before here. So
there's maybe some gray between the white and black, but you're way over here on this side of it, So way over there, no. I do think, there are some states, you got to check your state laws, right? That over a certain age, assault on a person over that age is considered aggravated assault.
Arizona is one of those. Anybody over the age of 75.
75 in Arizona.
That makes it now a felony aggravated assault.
And again, you take a 76-year-old man.
And you spit on him.
Yeah.
And that's ag assault.
That's ag assault.
Because that is an assault, and he's 75 years old. So done.
And so, ipso facto, if you make that assault and somebody uses deadly force in the commission of that crime, that's justified conduct.
That's right.
Okay, under the law. Interestingly enough, any assault on a peace officer in Arizona is considered aggravated assault.
That's correct. If you spit on a cop, it's a felony.
It's a felony.
Yeah.
Weird.
Or healthcare providers, people under the age of 15. There's several categories. Yeah.
So if you say, wait a minute, I am walking with this 78-year-old woman, and this guy comes up, shows her a crowbar, and grabs her purse, and I go, no, you can't, and I shoot him. Well, listen, if he's showing you the crowbar, I don't care how old you are.
Yeah.
Again, if he swings that crowbar at her, if she's 35 as opposed to 75, and she's gonna die.
Yeah.
And so the line here is pretty bright.
Right.
And pretty easy.
Yep.
And again, do I have to use deadly force right now to protect this woman's life?
And if the answer is yes, then why are we having this conversation? Get your gun out.
Because it's must.
Right. And if the answer is no, then this is a very strange conversation for us to be having.
Yes. And I think he actually had the crowbar under his shirt, and I don't know that he ever showed that, but that it showed up later, that he was thinking about maybe breaking into cars.
As did most of his body, as I recall. So, yeah, I mean, This guy couldn't even find a balaclava that fit. Did you notice that? Wow.
And I think that when the video starts in this one, this is the reason, one of the reasons I carry OC spray, okay? Is that I have good empty-handed skills, and now I am relatively fit and fairly strong, right? So I've worked hard at that, and so I can probably, and I've got good skills, so I could probably take that guy and put him on the ground. But why? Instead of, okay, wait a minute, this guy is physically a threat, but not a deadly threat right now. I'd rather bless him with the hot sauce, and then he goes, wow, this sucks, and now I call cops.
Or he wildly flails with his crowbar as you're 10 yards away watching him. So,
right, exactly. And then if that crowbar comes out, he can't see me anyways.
Right.
And I just put a car between us, and I go, dude, are the cops on the way? Tell him this idiot's swinging a crowbar. Which one is it? The guy screaming in pain right there. And makes it real easy to identify, right? You know, so that's when people are like, you know, well, wait a minute, I want my OC spray to have like a UV dye so we know who it is. Dude, if they show up within an hour, we're gonna know who it is, okay? So be careful with this, right? I think this one, again, boils down to how many times have we answered the question, can I shoot somebody?
Yeah, you know, and again, I mean, I know we've said it before, but you can't overemphasize it. It's never can. We're not giving you permission. It's not a hunting license. It's must. Okay, if there's some way, I mean, don't ask me, can I shoot this guy? Here's what I want the question to be. This guy's trying to kill me, and I came up with this and this and this to avoid him being able to kill me. Can you think of anything else that I haven't thought of before I have to kill him?
No.
That's how I want you, and obviously that's a fictitious conversation, but that's the conversation you have in your mind. And if their answer is no, I have no choice, well, then you have no choice.
And
do it.
And here's an interesting kind of, let's walk this rabbit trail a minute. So somebody goes, here in Arizona, right? Now your state, the statute might be a little different. I know in New York it's 65, for instance, okay? Because when we had that big bodega thing that went down, there's a discussion on that. Okay, she's 75 or above, now it's aggravated assault when he just puts hands on her, right? And so then I'm justified to use deadly force to protect her. Again, that one's in Maryland. I'm not talking about Maryland law, check your state laws. Do you know she's 75? What if she's 74?
And again, let's say she's 76, and now you have carte blanche authority to shoot this guy. What?
No.
Stop.
But again, the reasonable person says, I don't know how old she is, but boy, did she look frail.
Yeah.
And that frail old woman, that was my impression, my perception was, frail old woman, very large man, came up and grabbed her very hard. And I was like, he's going to kill her. He is going to put her in the hospital. She is going to break a hip right now.
It boils down, as it does oftentimes, to what we've talked about before also, disparity of force. You know, you've got a big man full of testosterone against a much smaller, much older, much frailer woman who's not full of testosterone. There's about 4 different factors of disparity of force there that all favor the victim, that favor the woman. So, you know, those are going to be used in court if some prosecutor's dumb enough to charge this thing. So
now, I have, on the other hand, seen a 75-year-old man who is in incredible shape.
I know a bunch of them could whip my butt.
Yeah, and you go, okay, now time out. This is not a frail. I see, you know, a guy who's a silver fox, and you know, and that dude looks like he could whoop that guy. A guy showed up to him and he, you know, balls his fist up and he's like, "Get away from me, bro!" And you're like, "Oh, okay, well, that's it." So the reasonable perception is really what matters here. It's not, you know, going to be, oh, well, thank God she was 75 years and 3 days old, because otherwise you're going to go to prison on this one. No, it's a frail old woman.
That just gives me one more peg to hang my hat on if I'm defending you. So that's great. I mean, I'm glad that we met the statutory requirements. That's some ammunition that I have that I wouldn't have had otherwise. But yeah, it's hardly definitive, and that's not why you get involved. How would you know how old she was? That's a great example.
And so again, if I see, so I'm bebopping out of Wally World, you know, with my kitty food and whatever the heck else I've got, and I see this guy come up and grab a hold of an old elderly woman who's just trying to get in her car. And she screams, "Help me!" You know, and I might think, you know, some people, and you got to have your thoughts on this. And I honor your perspective on it, that you go, hey, not my circus, not my monkeys. It's not my old woman. I don't know nothing about it, and I'm walking off. Okay.
That's hard for me to accept, but I get that some people feel that's acceptable.
My own moral code, I think my grandfather would rise from the dead to whoop my butt within an inch of my life if I did that, is the honest truth. I think about, you know, my loved ones being elderly and having nobody there to help them, and I couldn't do it in that case. Another person, you know, able-bodied, maybe. An elderly person, a child, nah, my moral code won't allow it. All right, what do we got going on here? And I'm going to look and see, wait a minute, is she at risk of death right now? If she's at risk of death, okay, I'm going to step in. All right, this might be a case where I point, where I don't fire, back up. stop, whatever. If I go, wait a minute, what's going on here? And this guy is a physical threat, but not a deadly threat. That's why we have other tools. So I don't think the line is as bad as most people think. Just remember, if I OC spray somebody or I put hands on somebody, yeah, I'm going to attract some focus from the local constabulary.
Yes.
They're gonna go, sir, why did you do these things?
You're going to get some interest.
Yes, some interest. I point a gun at somebody, I shoot a gun at somebody, the interest goes up.
Yeah. The interest is you're eating some dirt while you're being handcuffed, and we'll go from there. So,
and again, unless it is so clear that what we did.
Even then, you punched a ticket.
Yeah,
you're going to ride for a little while.
Your day's over.
Yep.
Your day's absolutely over in that case. I'm glad these guys got involved in this particular case. I think it was a good moral thing to do. I think they were completely justified to do it. I don't think they overreacted to this guy at all. But because we had the question, I thought we would answer it.
I want to throw in a little 2-minute anecdote for my life on this.
Please.
So, the helping the little old lady anecdote. So one of my knight in shining armor moments that I had. So I was in graduate school and I was in charge of the maintenance at a university in Missouri while I was going to graduate school half-time, and I was walking to my office and I saw smoke, and I turned, and right there in the middle of the quad, there was actually a road that went through the quad of this campus, and there's a van with black smoke billowing out of the van. And so I jumped out of my little Cushman and I ran down there because I couldn't get there. Hard to describe it, I couldn't get there on the Cushman. Anyway, so I ran down there, and lo and behold, there's a woman in her, I'd say late 60s, early 70s probably, in the driver's seat, and while the van's on fire. I'm like, ma'am, get out. She goes, I'm paraplegic, I can't. So I pull the door open, I pick her up and I carry her and sit her down in the grass 30, 40 yards away. And she goes, my wheelchair's in the van. And I go,
Sure is.
Go get my wheelchair. I said, I'm not running towards a burning van to rescue a wheelchair. And she derided me and cursed at me and belittled me that I wouldn't go get her wheelchair. Never once said thank you. And that was one of my very clear cut where I think I did the right thing, where apparently other people disagreed, because I was not going to have that thing blow up and kill me to rescue a wheelchair, but she, by God, felt that I should have. So, and it burned to the tires. It didn't ever blow up, but it burned hot and long. So anyway,
the closest
her wheelchair did burn. So
the closest I've ever had to that, we had our neighbor's house across the street burned to the ground one
boy.
night. Her granddaughter had left a cigarette burning in the ashtray of her car in the garage.
Wow.
And that
the whole house.
cigarette fell out of the ashtray, lit the car on fire, car caught the garage on fire, garage took the whole house down.
20 gallons of gas will do that, I guess.
Yeah, a little, the carpet's a heck of an accelerant, you know? Yeah. And I found out about it when the neighbor across, so one of the other neighbors banged on my door, and then I wake up and, oh, what? I open the door and you can see the house aflame, and there's an 80-year-old woman inside the home.
Oh boy.
And she had a security door. I know she had a security door. And I said, oh no, I need a pair of jeans and a shirt, because I was wearing a pair of sweatpants, and a sledgehammer because I need to get in there and help that woman. I literally turned to go back in the house to get the sledgehammer and the jeans and the t-shirt on, and the fire truck showed up. And I said, thank you, Jesus. I don't have to go in there. And those heroes got in there and saved that.
Don't you just know, for any story I've got, he's got a better one. That's
I didn't do anything. You actually saved somebody.
Well, not to her chagrin, apparently. So.
You actually saved a life. I just watched him.
Somebody else has got her for that.
I need to do something here. No, I don't. Beautiful. And then I stood there and watched the house burn to the ground.
That's a way better story, though. It's way safer.
They did get her out, and the sad side of that story, she'd paid the house off about a year earlier, and because she was struggling financially, her son had convinced her to cancel her homeowner's insurance. So that house, she did live through it. Wow. She ended up in an assisted living community. That house sat there burned as a burned shell for about 16 months. Wow. Until the city of Phoenix started getting real mad about it, and then that was sold to a flipper, and then sold to another flipper who finally rebuilt it. And it's been a beautiful house since then. Anyways, there it is. So help if you can, and do the right thing.
Be safe doing it.